Hi, I'm Josh, the author of Light, Bright, and Polite: How to Use Social Media in a Positive Way to Someday Impress Colleges and Future Employers. But the internet isn't all about being positive. There is definitely a safety component that is very important. And you know this, that's why you're watching this video. Today, I have an absolute expert on the video with us today. He's gonna share with us a bunch of tips that you can use to keep your teenager or preteen safe on the web. And we here at SafeSmartSocial.com believe you must be safe first, then on social media, so that you can then be smart. So today, I'm really, really pumped to have an absolute expert on the video. His name is Joe Ryan. Joe works at the Attorney General's office. Joe, welcome to the video.
Thanks, Josh. Glad to be here.
Hey, Joe, tell us about your role. What do you do at the Attorney General's office in South Carolina?
So my role at the Attorney General's office is technically the education coordinator. So what I do is I travel all around South Carolina and I talk to students, parents, teachers, and community members about how to stay safe online. Here at the AG's office, we're actually part of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which is a nationwide task force that basically goes after online predators or adults who are going to try to prey on kids using the internet.
Yeah. Now, before we dive into your 5 tips that you have for parents, before this, you were in law enforcement, and then what else? What other stuff did you do?
Yeah, so before I came over to the Attorney General's office, I spent 5 years with the Richland County Sheriff's Department here in Columbia, South Carolina. And 3 of those years while I was there, I was actually a school resource officer. So before I came over here talking to community members about these things, I was actually dealing with a lot of the issues that our teenagers face on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, you were on a school dealing with students and parents and keeping them safe, which I love, and I thank you for your service there. Okay, give us tip number 1. What should parents know about keeping their kids safe?
The biggest thing that we can stress for parents is to establish an open line of communication with their kids. We have to realize that as parents and as adults, we are the people who are role models for our kids, and we want them to feel comfortable to come to us. We want them to feel comfortable to talk to us, even if it's about topics that they consider personal to their lives, or maybe things that we won't understand because we're adults or because we don't use the same apps or the same devices that they do. But we want to continually assure them that we are there to help navigate them through those situations, regardless of if it's something they think we may or may not know about.
Great. So tip 1 is communication. Tip number 2.
Number 2, we really want to stress that families should sit down together and create their rules for internet usage. A lot of times we're tempted as adults to think, oh, well, we know what's best. We know everything that our kids should and shouldn't do. So we're going to sit down and create all these rules and expect our kids to follow them without asking any questions. But really, if we take the time to sit down together as a family and craft a set of rules that not only the kids should follow, but that we should follow too, so that we're making sure that we're being positive role models for them, we can get some input from them and see what really is important on their side. So maybe we can make some compromises to allow them to do some of the things they want to do, but also stress the reasons that we want them to avoid putting themselves in certain situations.
Oh, that's great. So tip number 2 builds on tip number 1, and that was create rules together. I love it. What's tip number 3?
Yeah, so I think we're going to keep building here. And so tip number 3 is not only going to involve creating the rules as a family, but also exploring the internet as a family, and not just the internet, but technology in general. So using devices together, whether that's smartphones, smart TVs, video game systems, or computers, but actually taking the time to do these things together. That can be something as simple as listening to a podcast as a family, playing a game as a family, having our own social media accounts that we interact with each other on. Maybe it's through Snapchat or Instagram, using them as a family, because it's one thing to tell your child, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. But when they're actually interacting with you on those platforms and seeing the way that you carry yourself, that makes a much greater impact in their lives and gives you a lot more credibility when you're talking to them about these subjects.
Yeah. So what's really cool is that you're basically saying explore the internet together, and while you're doing that, you're setting an example. I love that tip number 3. What's tip number 4?
So tip number 4 is pretty specific to what we do at the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and that's just really making sure that our kids understand some of the risks that are involved when they meet new people online. I think every day there's a new app coming out that encourages people to make new friends online, and the growth of video games and online gaming specifically is starting to introduce kids at younger and younger ages to interacting with people online that they might not necessarily know. So we want to make sure that they understand what kind of information they should and shouldn't be sharing with these people, that when they are playing a game online, that the best thing to talk about is the game that they're playing. You know, these people don't need to know what school they go to play video games with them. They don't need to know how old they are to interact with them. So we want to make sure that they're sticking to the relevant information, even though after forming these relationships, they may be tempted to continue to give out more and more personal information. We want to make sure that even though they feel comfortable with these individuals, that they're still very aware of the personal information that they are or are not sharing.
Wow, that's really cool. I've never heard that, and I think you are right on there. Keep it relevant if you're gaming or something like that, and let kids know. So that was tip number 4, the dangers of talking to new people online. And you've also got a tip number 5, which is awesome that people are here watching this video at SafeSmartSocial.com. What's tip number 5?
So tip number 5 is definitely just educating yourself about the internet and technology. When I speak to parents in the presentations that I do, I always have parents that feel like they are not very tech savvy, that feel like they're just incredibly intimidated by technology and by the internet and by social media, and they really just have nowhere to start. They don't understand what the first step should be, and they let that intimidation and that fear really just prevent them from ever even getting the knowledge, but not only not getting the knowledge for themselves, but they let that fear prevent them from talking to their kids about those subjects. So we just want to make sure that they realize there are a ton of resources out there that you can use to continue to educate yourselves. Obviously, if parents are here on your site, they're going to get a lot of great information here, but there's a ton of other websites out there that they can use to continue to learn more and more about this technology and more about the internet. And once they start to put those pieces together, it becomes increasingly easy to have these conversations with your kids. And you'll be surprised how many things that you think that they know, but you can actually teach them once you take the time to teach yourselves.
That's really great. I couldn't be more thankful, Joe, that you're here today. Let's review your tips one more time. 1, you taught parents have an open line of communication with students. Number 1 key. I couldn't agree more with you. That's really terrific. 2, make the rules together. Basically, write your home contract together, whatever those rules are. Maybe even put them on the fridge to build on number 1. Number 3, explore the internet together. And I like how you said you're basically setting an example for your students while you're exploring the internet, the way in which you do it. The actions speak louder than words. Number 4, there's the dangers of talking to new people online, especially if your students are gaming. And parents, while you're watching this, I think that Joe's tips for number 3 was explore the internet together. If your students, and Joe, feel free to disagree with me here. This is a great dialogue. But if your students are playing games, multi-level playing games or whatever, PlayStation, and they're at home and they have a headset on and they're listening to other players scream at them and stuff and say foul words, Joe, I'd love to hear what you think on this. Should parents play maybe with them so that they know what's going on, so that the parents can encourage the student to keep the information that they share very relevant to just that game?
Yeah, so I think that that's going to be a difficult sell sometimes, depending on the age of the kid. If you're with a teenager, they might not be necessarily so willing to open that door. But if you've got younger kids, I think that's one of the reasons for us. We do really encourage parents to start these conversations and to start these activities at a younger age. That way, as they get older, it doesn't feel like an invasion of privacy. It doesn't feel like you're trying to control what they're doing. If you've got the opportunity to play a game with your kids or even sit down next to them while they're playing and really experience what they're experiencing, I think any insight that we can get into their lives is going to be incredibly valuable as we move forward with trying to teach them how to manage these activities.
Joe, that's right on. I love it. And to your tip number 5 is parents continually educate yourselves. And those of you that are watching, we have what's called the Parent App Guide here at safesmartsocial.com, which has received over 3,400 shares on social media, definitely our busiest page. It has over 24 app guides, which are 4-minute videos you can use to educate yourself and become an expert on just about every popular app that students are using. We've got the green zone, the gray zone, and the red zone. I encourage you to go take a peek at that. Now, I met Joe Ryan through an interesting experience. He actually bought a virtual ticket to our upcoming conference that's happening. It's called the Digital Citizenship Conference. We have a virtual ticket for people that live all over the country, and they get access to all of the experts and panels and all the sessions, which I'm really pumped about. We're talking about safety and being smart online, 2 very important tracks, one for middle school and one for high school. I couldn't be more pumped about the conference. Hey, Joe, I want to thank you for coming out today and sharing with us your tips.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me, Josh.
Thank you. And those of you that are watching, you can learn more at safesmartsocial.com. As always, keep it light, bright, and polite. Have a great day. You can click on item number 1 to request a social media safety speech at your middle school or high school. Click on item number 2 to view a list of our good and bad apps, our green zone, red zone, and gray zone. Click on item number 3 to buy my book on Amazon, Light, Bright, and Polite. And click on item number 4 to monitor your student online by joining our Footprint Friday weekly tool. I'm Josh Oakes with SafeSmartSocial.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep it light, bright, and polite. Have a great day.